What's up, my comic comrades, with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings hitting theaters this week. Today we're breaking down the history of Marvel's greatest hand-to-hand fighter, Shang-Chi. In fact, this is actually the first of several episodes we'll be doing on characters from the film, including the Mandarin and the Death Dealer, so be on the lookout for that as the week continues. As a side note, I also want to add that issue 2 of Astonishing Times, the Comixology original comic series I wrote with Frank Barberry and Rory Coleman, released yesterday. And I want to thank the thousands of you who have already picked up the issue. For those of you who haven't read issue 2, or either for that matter, you can pick up your copy of our superhero murder mystery exclusively at Comixology and Kindle. Links for both of those are in the description. And if you want a small taste of the series thus far, you could watch the pull list episode we posted yesterday right here. But now it's time to jump in and see what Shang-Chi is all about. Shang-Chi first appeared in Special Marvel Edition, The Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, issue 15, in December of 1973. Yes, I know that is a very long title name. He was created by Steve Englehart and Jim Starlin. As for Shang-Chi's real-world creation, Englehart and Starlin were huge fans of ABC's TV series called Kung Fu, which starred David Carradine. So Starlin and Englehart went to Marvel and were like, hey guys, we want to make a comic book adaptation of the Kung Fu TV series. But they quickly learned that was impossible and wouldn't be able to license it because the TV series was owned by Warner Brothers, owner of its rival DC Comics. It was at this point Roy Thomas stepped in and suggested they create a character who was the son of Fu Manchu, as they could license that. So that's what they did, and Shang-Chi was born. But now that you know his real world origin, let's start talking about his comic book one. Shang-Chi, which means a rising and advancing spirit, was born in the Honan province of China. He was the son of Fu Manchu, an extremely wealthy international crime lord, and an unknown American woman who was genetically selected by his father. But as for his origin, it's given to us in Special Marvel Edition issue 15. Now, we did already go over his origin in an Origin of Shang-Chi episode, but of course we have to go over it again in his History of episode. So if you've already seen that episode, this might sound familiar. Anyway, Special Marvel Edition 15 starts off with us seeing Shang-Chi in the present fighting a bunch of men who are wanting to kill him. But Shang-Chi is clearly making quick work of them, putting his hands, feet, and elbows all over their faces. And when the sumo fighter calls him a fool, saying, "You'll never reach my master, Fu Manchu," Shang-Chi says, "You are the fool, Sumo, for I am Shang-Chi. I am the son of Fu Manchu." We are then thrown into the past where we learn Shang-Chi's origin. We see him bowing to his father, Fu Manchu, saying, "Greetings, honorable one. I await your commands. You have only to speak. I am your slave." His father then replies, "Child of my flesh, all of your 19 years have been spent here in my Honan retreat, where I and my most trusted senseis have trained you rigorously in both the mental and martial arts. I am well pleased with the results." Fu Manchu continues to say, "Your intellect rivals the best of the outside world. And moreover, you are a living weapon. It is for this final reason that I wish to send you into that world for the first time." We then find out that the living weapon Shang-Chi's first mission was to kill Dr. Petrie, who Fu Manchu called the evilest man alive. Now, over the years, Shang-Chi's studies and philosophies taught him that killing was an act of hate and disgust. But he told himself his father is an honorable and truthful man, and of course, if he believes this course to be correct, then it is. While thinking all of this, he sneaks into Dr. Petrie's house, where he sees an old, weak man who's sound asleep. Because of this, Chi says to himself, he's nearly 90 years old. What harm could he be to anyone now? I was taught that revenge gains nothing. So he stood there contemplating on whether or not he should kill the doctor, and ultimately his training and obedience took control, and he killed Petrie with a single strike. A single karate chop, if you will. Now, off topic, but Tim seems to think the term karate chop is cheesy and outdated, but I think it's underappreciated and needs to be brought back. Hashtag save the karate chop. Anyway, just as Shang-Chi was leaving through a window, he was stopped at gunpoint by Sir Dennis Nyland Smith. Once Sir Dennis pointed the gun at Shang-Chi, he starts insulting his father, so Shang-Chi kicks the gun out of his hand, at which point Sir Dennis says, "Good lord, man, no one can move with such speed. You're a new sort of servant for him." To which Chi tells him, "I'm Shang-Chi, son of Fu Manchu. My father has dreamed of a better life on this planet. Your friend murdered his dreams. My act was sad, but just." Shang-Chi then sees Sir Dennis crying for Dr. Petrie, to which he asks, "Why do you weep for this man? How can you have loved him so? I am told he was a foe of world peace, the most evil of men." And then it's here where we find out that Fu Manchu is actually the evil one. Sir Dennis tells him the truth about his father and tells Shang-Chi it was 1911 when he first heard of Fu Manchu, who was a man who spoke every civilized language and most of the barbaric. A man adept in all arts and sciences taught in universities and certain obscure arts and sciences no universities of today can teach. A man with the intellect of 3 men of genius, and he's older than Sir Dennis is now because Fu Manchu had developed the oil of life to preserve and prolong his vitality, a fountain of youth, so to speak. Becoming essentially immortal freed him to work single-mindedly towards his single goal: domination of the world by the Sci-Fan, a group of elite assassins, as well as numerous terrible cults. But it doesn't stop there. He also has other weapons that are worse, such as spiders, rats, reptiles, and other loathsome vermin, as well as manipulating men with beautiful women. Sir Dennis also tells him that he and Dr. Petrie tried to stop him many years ago. After this, Shang-Chi visits his mother, who confirms everything Sir Dennis said to him. And when Shang-Chi asks, then how could you be with my father, she basically told him that I never loved your father, but I married him for his power. After this, we are brought back to the present, where the beginning of the issue started, and we see Shang-Chi has made easy work of all of his father's guards and defenses. And when he finally confronted his father tells him his evil plans himself. But Shang-Chi says, "Father, you speak with absolute assurance, completely convinced that your vision is the only proper way. And like all men who speak like this, you are mad. When we next meet, it will be as enemies." And Fu Manchu tells him, "Every evil on this planet is at my command, and son or not, henceforth, they will all be directed toward your doom." And with that, we have the origin of Shang-Chi. So now let's move on to story arcs and publication history. Like we just went over, Shang-Chi first appeared in Special Marvel Edition issue 15, which gave us his origin. But he would also appear in issue 16 of Special Marvel Edition, where he would fight Midnight, who was sent by his father. Then after appearing in only 2 issues, the series name was changed from Marvel Special Edition to The Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, with issue 17. That's right, Shang-Chi became incredibly popular after only 2 issues because 1, the character was cool and had a compelling backstory, and 2, because of the martial arts craze that started to surge in the good US of A in the 70s. It was the perfect storm. Because of this, the Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu title lasted from issue 17 to 125. So the title lasted over 100 issues, which is a feat that doesn't happen often for characters outside of the A-listers of Marvel like Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Hulk, and so on. But after his series came to an end, Shang-Chi would appear in tons of crossover stories with other martial arts characters. So we would see him team up with Iron Fist, White Tiger, and the Daughters of the Dragon, Colleen Wing, and Misty Knight. And we saw him team up with these characters in the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu series that lasted for 33 issues. The series was published by a sibling company of Marvel Comics called Magazine Management. Essentially, after Shang-Chi's initial run in the Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, he would more or less just pop up in a lot of other Marvel titles. But now that you have a little understanding of his publication history, let's talk a little bit about some of his good stories or issues that he appeared in. Issue 31 of the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu was actually pretty dope, as we see the Master of Kung Fu, aka Shang-Chi, team up with Iron Fist, White Tiger, and the Jack of Hearts to create a powerhouse martial arts team. One that is not to be trifled with as they go after the nefarious corporation. Then you have Marvel Knights issue 1, where Shang-Chi teams up with Daredevil and several other heroes to clean up the mean streets of New York City. And their first mission is to catch and bring in a murderer to face a trial that he is long overdue for. And guess who that man is? The Punisher. Needless to say, it makes for a very interesting story. Then skipping some stuff here and there, we have Heroes for Hire issue 1 from 2006 that took place during the first and epic Civil War story. In it, we see Shang-Chi join up with Misty Knight's revamped Heroes for Hire team to catch supervillains attempting to dodge the Registration Act. And along the way, the Master of Kung Fu Shang-Chi finds love in the arms of fellow teammate Tarantula. During the Spider Island story, we got a 3-issue miniseries for Shang-Chi called Spider Island: Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. Essentially, we see Shang-Chi help with the spider virus epidemic, helping fellow heroes fight back the infected. Then almost directly after this, we see Shang-Chi has become a new member of the Avengers in Avengers issue 11 from the 2013 series. Then more recently, you have the Shang-Chi 5-issue miniseries that was collected into a trade called Shang-Chi, Brothers and Sisters. In it, the Marvel Universe's greatest fighter has returned to the world, and an ancient and evil secret society has remained in hiding since the death of its leader, Zhang Zu. But now a successor has been chosen to shift the balance of power in the world, Shang Zu's son, Shang-Chi. It's basically a dysfunctional family reunion for Shang-Chi, where he meets siblings he never knew he had, like his deadly sister, Hammer. So some siblings he could trust, and some are trying to kill him. And then we have the most current Shang-Chi title, which started back in May. Now, I haven't read this series yet, but I'm going to because it sounds dope. Basically, it's Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe. As the solicit reads, Shang-Chi and his family are back, and this time, they're colliding head-to-head with the Marvel Universe's biggest heroes. Shang-Chi has finally taken his place as the leader of the 5-Weapon Society, but using an evil secret organization as a force for good won't be easy. Yeah, definitely gonna read that. But now, my comic comrades, it's time for powers and abilities. As for powers and abilities, Shang-Chi's superpower is that he's literally the best hand-to-hand fighter in the Marvel Universe. He's so good at hand-to-hand fighting, it's considered his superpower. Because of this, he's often referred to as the Master of Kung Fu. Now, being so good with his hands and feet, he often prefers to fight without any weapons. But he's also extremely skilled with weapons, such as nunchucks, swords, throwing stars, and pretty much everything else. But after he joined the Avengers, Tony Stark gave him a pair of high-tech nunchucks that discharge electricity, as well as a pair of gauntlets capable of projecting energy blades. It was pretty dope, especially in this dude's hands. He's also extremely good with improvising weapons out of ordinary objects, such as staplers, pens, and anything else you could find in a house or office. And here's a fun fact, Shang-Chi is the one who trained Spider-Man in martial arts, helping Spider-Man develop a unique fighting style that complemented his spider-like abilities. Shang-Chi has mastered his chi, which allows him to do things like disperse physical trauma across his entire body instead of just accumulating pain at a single spot. Focusing his chi also allows him to strike with enough force to break reinforced steel. And due to his extreme focus and discipline, his senses are highly attuned to his surroundings, so much that he can pinpoint breath sounds and heartbeats of silent aggressors. In summary, this normal dude is so lethal with his hands, he's thought of as a superhuman. I mean, I said it already, but that just says it all. As for reading recommendations, check out his first appearance in Special Marvel Edition issue 15, Shang-Chi Brothers and Sisters, his The Hands of Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu ongoing series, The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu series, Master of Kung Fu 126 from 2017, and of course his brand new current series, which I said I'll be checking out myself, simply titled Shang-Chi. That should be more than enough to get you all started. First up for the week of September 1st, we have the Sinister War issue 4. Things just got worse for Spider-Man. It didn't seem possible, but it's true. If you think Spider-Man has taken a beating before, you haven't seen anything yet. Now we have Infinite Frontier issue 5. Roy Harper finds himself forced to do things on his own. He's been through a lot since he was Green Arrow's sidekick, and usually the only person he can count on is himself. Hence him hiding the fact that he's back from the dead from all of his old friends. Now we have the Titans Academy issue 6. When the entire town in upstate New York turns on the students of Teen Titans Academy, while the adult Titans are on a mission, Gorilla Greg and Chupacabra and the other new students find themselves fighting for their lives against a chaotic mob. And finally, we have Astonishing Times issue 2. I can't believe it, but the second issue of my comic series Astonishing Times is already out. In this issue, we start building the relationship between Koken and Noah as the investigation for who is behind Gold Rush's death really starts to heat up. And that's gonna bring today's episode to a close, but if you like today's episode, be sure to check out this one right here. And if you like all of our content, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. It always helps the channel out. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.